Welcome to the inaugural episode of Politics for the Culture. I'm your host, Senator Dwight Bullard. On Politics for the Culture, we want to do politics for us and by us. We want you to understand as an audience that politics doesn't have to be daunting, doesn't have to be scary, doesn't have to be intimidating. We want you and your voice to be the centerpiece of what we talk about here on this show. Politics for the Culture is for you. It's not to be spoken at, it is for you to digest, to be able to understand and appreciate that politics and democracy at the end of the day is by the people and for the people. And so Politics for the Culture is your show. And we want to make sure that the guests that we bring on and the topics that we talk about reflect the ideas and concerns of the broader community, but especially for the culture. Today, we're going to be joined by a CNN and MSNBC correspondent, someone who is familiar to many of us. She's the president of Our Revolution, which was started by Senator Bernie Sanders. She's been a candidate for office, whether it's Secretary of State in the great state of Ohio or a candidate for Congress. But more importantly, she's been a voice for the voiceless for quite some time, since her days on the Cleveland City Council and during her time in the Ohio State Senate. I'm happy to call her a friend, someone I can call on, share ideas with, run things by, and I think you'll appreciate our very first inaugural guest. So welcome, Senator Nina Turner, to Politics for the Culture. Just, having known you for a long time and seeing where we are in 2022, I'm curious, when we think about your history and running for Secretary of State in Cleveland, Ohio, it's got to feel like deja vu when we think about voting rights and how to protect those voting rights. So could you kind of let us know where you feel and how you feel in this moment, having fought this battle for as long as you have?
Yeah, Senator, and shout out to you and your team. I'm so excited about this new journey that I believe the Creator has you on to give voice. And I love the name of the show, Politics for the Culture. It is so beautiful. And just to be in camaraderie with you and the journey that you have been on to lift and to be a voice for truth. It is a beautiful thing. In this moment, I'm feeling a heaviness. And if you're out among the people, you feel it too. Now, if you're in the bubble in DC, then you're going to slap yourself on the back and high five about, things that you have done. And I'm talking particularly about the IRA that just passed, the Inflation Recovery Act that just passed. And while there may be a few good things in there that are good, overwhelmingly, that legislation does nothing to deal with the challenges and the everyday struggle that people in our respective communities and all over this country are suffering. The types of people that we know about, Senator, because we touch these people on a regular basis. When you cannot get a consensus in the Congress, whether you're Republican or Democrat, on bringing back the child tax credit that decreased childhood poverty by 50%, but they let it expire. When you can't get folks to vote on that amendment, or very few people, and our own very Senator Bernard Sanders put forth that amendment, when you have people haggling over or questioning whether or not we should cap insulin at $35 when in other industrialized nations it's even less than that, we have a problem. And make no mistake, Republicans tanked that, because in the Senate you need 60 votes because of the filibuster. That's a whole nother conversation. But I bring up these examples, and then so the Republicans tanked that because you needed 60 votes. However, you have a parliamentarian that works for the Democrats that said it wasn't budgetary, which forced us to have a 60 votes to clear it versus 50 plus one, which the vice president would be that one to break the tie. But I digress. This is the point. When the voices of corporations and the ultra wealthy in this country are louder and more important because they got the money, more important than what Big Mama or Big Daddy got to say, in hoods where people are misunderstood, whether they're rural, urban, or suburban, we have a moral crisis in the United States of America. And that makes me mad, and it also makes me sad.
No, and that's real, Senator. And I thank you, for your commentary on that. I mean, you kind of alluded to the original point, and that is, why is the power of our vote even more magnified in this moment from where you stand? Considering what you just shared, why is the 2022 election and the 2024 and beyond so critical, especially for the Black community and people of color?
Because the types of people we elect, the types of people we give our power to, it matters. And in this pivotal, critical, life-altering moment in human history, from the pandemic that we're still in, dealing with COVID, we're dealing with Omicron right now, to the monkeypox, to all other things that are happening in people's lives, inflation taking people out every single day, they can't make ends meet. The types of people we give our collective power to matters. So we need to be keenly focused on electing people who will always put our interests first, our interests over being invited to the Christmas party, our interests over being even reelected. And Senator, you and I know what it's like to be elected and have to run, but we need people who care more about the next generation than they do about the next election. We need people to go into office as if it may be only one term. You know what I mean? If you live your elected life as if you only gonna have one term, baby, you're gonna go in there and try to make some stuff happen. And you're gonna have like the fierce urgency of now. Those are the types of people we need to elect to office. Not people who whisper sweet nothings in our ear, not people who are in the in crowd, but people who will stand up with a type of moral clarity that shakes the very rooms that they enter. This is life or death.
Lastly, and I know our time is brief together today. Is there a quote or something for the culture? Who is your cultural icon that you want to invoke in this moment? To kind of send a message to the world, a message to our people out there who are feeling as though, why should I bother? Why should I care? Why should I engage? Who's inspiring you right now?
Oh, Senator, that is such a deep question. I got two people on my heart right now. One is Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, and the other one is the great novelist James Baldwin. And he once said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." I want us to like marinate in that. But we gotta face it to be able to change it. And then from the great Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, what the people want is very simple. They want an America as good as its promise. And I want our people to know that we are entitled to, we have a right to having an America as good as its promise. And in order to have that, we got to make a demand. We got to take stands. We got to come together in coalition, and we must fight.
Indeed, indeed. First of all, I want to thank you, Senator, for being our inaugural guest. More importantly, and I'm going to say this selfishly, although you could be in Congress right now, you should be in Congress right now. I'm going to selfishly say that we need you out here on the outside advocating for the people of this world who are oftentimes unheard and too oftentimes marginalized. So I want to thank you so much for all the hard work that you've been doing. In spite of not being in elected office, because I think your power is much, much greater and much more magnified in the spaces that you occupy now. But thank you for being on today.
Well, thank you, Senator. And I look forward to coming back where I can spend the whole hour with you. So hopefully you will put that down. I'm ready to come back and be with you. Congrats. And I'm going to promote this everywhere that I possibly can. Count me as somebody right by your side in this fight for justice in all of its forms.
Thank you, Senator Nina Turner.
Thank you.
I'm always thankful of Senator Nina Turner speaking truth to power. I want us to marinate on that. Think about who's the person in your life, who's the person that is influencing your thoughts and decisions. For her, today, it was author James Baldwin and the great Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. For me, it's always been thinking about and reflecting on the teachings of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass. Who is it for you? When we think about, the power of words, I think about one of my favorite quotes. Frederick Douglass says that power concedes nothing without demand. It never has and it never will. I remember thinking about going to a conference years ago where someone asked a simple question, do you want power? And, of course, thinking altruistically, I said to myself, I'm not concerned about power. I want power for the people. And that person then challenged me to say, it is, it is unconscionable for a Black man in the modern era to not want power. And I had to sit back and reflect on that, because that is just it. We all want a piece of the power. We should all want to hold power, to influence power, to pull the levers of power. And so when we think about that, don't think about it from a corruptive standpoint. Think about it from a real life standpoint in which we all want to take power over our own lives and our own destiny. We want better schools and playgrounds for our children. We want clean air. We want clean water. We want more money in our pocket. We want a roof over our heads that doesn't leak or is ridden with mold or termites, right? These are all tenets of power that we want to make sure that we hold on to. And the reality is that politics, whether it be big P politics or small P politics, is going to play a role in how many taxes, how much your property tax is going to be, how much taxes are, where those monies go, and how those monies are spent. And so what I want folks to understand in owning your power is that, as Frederick Douglass says, power concedes nothing without demand. So what is your demand? What is the ask that you're making today? And will it be reflective in your vote? We're in the month of August, and there are elections happening all over the country this month. I have a good friend who I hope to bring on the show one day, the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes, who just became the Democratic nominee. If elected, he would be one of the youngest senators ever elected to the Congress. Moreover, he would be the youngest Black senator, under the age of 35, to join the Congress this year. We think about people who've now grown up in a hip hop era, in an era, post 9/11, trying to think about what the magnitude of their power means. It's folks like him, Charles Booker, folks like Gary Chambers out in Louisiana, who we want to make sure have a voice on a place like Politics for the Culture, so that you all understand that this is a broader and deeper influence, that there's a movement that is being reflected in this country right now of people who are saying, as Fannie Lou Hamer said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so therefore they want to get out there and do what's in the best interest of our people, but they need to hear it from you. We want you to call in or send emails into the show so that I know what questions to ask these folks, so that when we talk about the notion of demanding power, as Frederick Douglass said, that we're talking about it from a real life standpoint based on how folks are living. It's got to be deeper than, just we need more money in our pockets, or we need this, or we need that. I want folks to understand the impact and the trauma that we've experienced because of systemic racism. I want folks to understand what it means to seek out the help that they need, whether that be financial, mental health, physical health, you name it. And Politics for the Culture is going to be a platform to make that happen. And so thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for watching the inaugural episode of Politics for the Culture. This definitely won't be the last, and I look forward to hearing from you.